Learning to cook ribs on the grill might take some time and patience, but it's actually pretty easy. You can become a grill master by figuring out how to make juicy, delicious ribs that practically melt in your mouth. Just follow these easy steps and your ribs will always taste amazing. But before we dive into the cooking, let's take a look at baby back ribs versus spare ribs. Hey, what's the difference? Baby back ribs and spare ribs have a few differences. First, they come from different parts of the rib cage. Baby back ribs are from the upper part, while spare ribs are from the lower part. Baby back ribs are shorter and leaner than spare ribs, and that's why they're called baby back. It's not just because of a jingle in a song. See, they're also quicker to cook because they're smaller. However, baby back ribs can be more expensive than spare ribs, which are meatier and fattier. Now, here's why you're gonna love this recipe. First off, I gotta ask, who's excited for grilling season? Right? Like me, summer means grilling and grilling means ribs. Delicious ribs. But don't get me wrong, it doesn't just have to be summer. For me, grilling season is every season. Okay, so normally cooking ribs in the oven heats up the entire house, but not anymore, friends. See, these tender spare ribs are cooked right on the grill. You don't need a slow cooker, a pressure cooker, a steamer, or anything crazy like a broiler, or even to have to start the oven. Yeah, you heard me correctly. As crazy as that sounds, these ribs are entirely cooked on the grill. And the great thing is, it's really easy to do. The hardest part actually is waiting for them to be done because it's gonna smell so good. So today we're gonna be talking about spare ribs. Now, if you don't have a gas grill, you can definitely do this on a charcoal grill. Just cover it and keep an eye on the grill's temperature with a thermometer. Okay, so let's hop on into the action. But first things first, how do you shop for ribs? When you're buying ribs, the first thing to decide is whether you want pork or beef. Pork ribs are smaller, while beef ribs are bigger, so they cook at different times. Beef ribs have more fat, giving them a strong beefy taste when cooked. Pork ribs have less fat, so they have a little bit of a milder flavor, making them great for flavorful marinades. Pork ribs are also cheaper and easier to find in some places too. There are two main kinds of beef ribs, back ribs and short ribs. Now, back ribs come from below the backbone and there's not a lot of meat on them, but there is a really high quality involved. Short ribs come from the chuck area and give lots of marbling, which makes them super tasty. People usually braise short ribs, but you can also grill them too. Okay, so no matter which rib you pick, look for ones with lots of meat on the bones, even fat marbling, and even thickness. The meat should also be a fresh, pinkish red color. Now it's time for some ingredients. Here's what you're gonna need to make your ribs taste the way that you've always wanted. We're gonna need some heavy-duty aluminum foil. If you don't have heavy-duty, make sure to use double or even triple layers when wrapping the ribs, cause they can get kinda pointy. Baby back spare ribs. When it comes to baby back or spare ribs, go for the meatier ones whenever possible. We're also going to need a dry rub. Now, you can use homemade dry rub, but if you've got a favorite brand, feel free to use that. The same goes for barbecue sauce too. Use your favorite brand if you've got one. Me personally, I'm a sucker for Stubbs. And now for some instructions. Here we go, time to get to the meat of it. Pun intended. So first things first, we've got to make that meat tender. This first step is super important to make sure that your ribs turn out amazing, so please don't skip it. Just follow these steps exactly and I promise it's gonna be worth it. Begin by taking off the very thin skin on the back of the ribs. You can do this by cutting into it with a sharp knife and then pulling it away from the meat carefully. After that, mix kosher salt with black and red peppers and keep it to the side. This mixture is going to make the meat tender and give it flavor and a little hint of spiciness. Now, you can really use anything you want to here in case you've got an aversion to peppers or spicy. Okay, so after removing the thin membrane from the ribs, it's time to add some spicy flavor. So here's what you do. Rub the ribs with the cut sides of limes, squeezing as you rub to get the citrusy juice into the meat. Then take the mixture of salt and pepper, the one you prepared in the first step, or whatever herbs and spices you decided to use, and gently massage it into the rib meat and make sure to cover all the sides. Finally, tightly wrap the seasoned meat with plastic wrap and put it in a 9 by 13 inch baking dish. Cover it up and let it chill in the fridge for about 8 hours. Now, this step requires a little bit of patience, but it's definitely going to be worth it in the end. Next up, we're going to stack and grill. Okay, after waiting patiently for that really long, hard 8 hours, the ribs will have absorbed all the flavors from step 2. So now, my friends, it's time to prepare for the thrilling grilling stage, which is undoubtedly the most exciting part of this process. But pay attention here, we don't want to get something wrong, because then we'll have to wait for another set of ribs to chill for another 8 hours. Okay, so begin by lighting one side of the grill and heating it up to a temperature of 350 degrees. Leave the other side of the grill unlit. Now, you could do this with gas a little bit easier than charcoal, but you can still do it with charcoal by stacking all of your coals on one side of the grill. Okay, so before we even make it to the grill, we want to allow the rib slabs to rest at room temperature for approximately 30 minutes, and then we want to carefully remove the plastic wrap. So, now that our grill's preheated and we've taken these bad mamma jammas out of the wrap, the real fun begins and you can get ready to grill those delicious, scrumptious ribs to perfection. Now it's time for the fun. So let's place those rib slabs over the side of the grill that's not lit, stacking them on top of each other. Now we're gonna grill them like this with the grill lid closed for about 40 minutes. After that, we're gonna rotate the slabs, moving the bottom one to the top of the stack and continue grilling for another 40 minutes. To make your ribs even tastier, let's move on to the next step of separating and brushing the slabs on the grill. Here's what to do. First off, lower the grill temperature to about 300 degrees Fahrenheit or medium heat. Next, place the rib slabs meaty side up and side by side over the side of the grill that's not lit. What we're going to want to do is brush them with barbecue sauce, then grill the ribs for 30 minutes. Now, keep the grill lid closed while doing this. Now, as you go along, keep brushing the ribs with more sauce from time to time. Add as much sauce as you like, depending on how much flavor you want. Keep cooking the ribs over low heat until they become tender and easily pull away from the bone. This step might take some patience because ribs can take 2 hours or even more to cook perfectly. Now, once they're done, remove the ribs from the grill and allow them to rest for at least 10 minutes before serving. This resting period is essential to let the flavors settle and the juices redistribute for the best taste. It's also really, in my opinion, the hardest part because you're going to be so excited to eat these things and they're going to smell so good. Okay, well, here we are, voila! Your ribs are ready to be enjoyed, preferably with a few delicious side dishes and maybe a decadent dessert. I'm a real big sucker for chocolate mousse cake. To make your ribs even more amazing, consider generously coating them with this plum barbecue sauce. Now, this sauce includes brown sugar, apple cider vinegar, Worcestershire sauce, and chopped plums. Cook it until it's thick and bubbling with a delightful sweetness and just a touch of spice. This sauce is a fantastic addition to this rib recipe, taking it to the next level of flavor. Well, there you are, congratulations, you've just unlocked the secrets to mouth-watering grilled ribs. Hey, do me a favor, if you found this video helpful, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more delicious recipes, and it also really helps us get our name out there and help spread our content to people who could use some help grilling and cooking. And remember, whether you're a barbecue pro or a beginner, the grill is your playground. So fire it up, get cooking, and savor those fall-off-the-bone ribs. And as always, my friends, thank you very much for choosing to spend your time with us today. We'll see you in our next video.